All right, so I'm going to intro mass modeling. So the first thing I got to do is go to my massing and site tab. I'm going to go up to this button that says in place mass. Yes, Danny. I use the Imperial architectural template. All right, and so essentially I'm going to give this a mass. I'm just going to call it practice. It doesn't really matter. I could have left it as mass 1. I'm just going to hit OK on that. Now, let's first explain what a mass is. A mass model is a very rough representation of the form, okay? And I'm leaving it very vague. So if you guys think, let's say you were tasked to create a building in New York, and you knew the footprint could be no bigger than 100 foot by 100 foot, right? But you had a bunch of various ideas of what you're thinking the building should look like, okay? It's going to be 50 feet tall, 5 stories-ish, whatever. And you're you're basically trying to conceptualize what this building's going to look like, right? So if we think about how Revit has worked, we've used very specific information to generate our building so far, right? We did like our datum heights, we did it like 9'6", and then we did 19'6", 20, right? So we did all of that. That was very, very solid information to start modeling, right? We didn't start with the exterior mass. What we're going to do with this exercise is really just play around with some sort of exterior mass. So what I'm going to do, start out with, is I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And I'm not going to concern myself overly with the dimensions. I'm just going to say I know it needs to be smaller than 100 foot wide. I know it needs to be shallower than 100 foot deep. So I'm actually going to go 75 by 95. Okay? So, what do I have? I have a beautiful rectangle, nothing more. Okay? Now, what can I do with this? I can create this as a form. So I'm going to grab this little create form. Oh, first thing I do is select my object. I want to create this as a form. And so I can start to take this thing and stretch this thing up. I can give it a height. I'm going to say it's 65 feet tall. Okay. So now I'm starting to develop my building. Okay. Beautiful building so far. You guys are probably thinking this guy can only design boxes. Which is okay to think right now. So we're going to start looking at this and going, okay, what else do we want to do to this building? Well, and again, guys, remember, this is at a very early stage of your project. So this would just be like kind of coming up with ideas. So maybe I'm thinking maybe something bumps out here. And then maybe there's another bump here, okay? And I can look at this in 3D again. Now I would want to assign some like actual dimensions to these things. But for what I'm looking at here, I'm not going to be too concerned with it. So, morning. Black Chevy Cruise. All right, but hey, did you check in Krista's room?
I did.
Okay. Make an announcement.
I asked them to do that. I didn't hear one.
I didn't hear it either. You guys didn't hear an announcement, did you? No. Yeah. Sorry, Jerry. Black Chevy Cruise. No, it's a little like black sedan. All right, so I'm going to grab this one here. I'm going to say create form again, and I'm going to start pulling this thing up. Right, so maybe I want it to look something like that. I'm going to grab this here. I'm going to say create form again, and I'm going to start pulling this one up. Maybe I want that part of the tower to be a fair bit taller, so I'm going to pull that up. Maybe even a little bit taller, say like 80 feet. There we go. Kind of want it to look like that. Okay. Now what I can do with Revit, which I think is pretty cool, is I can actually combine these masses. So I can take this little button that says join, and I can grab this and this. Now those are locked together. You'll see that there's no like intersecting geometry anymore. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to join this and this. And again, now I've kind of created this one single mass, okay? Now, I've got some other things that I can do. So I can really start to get kind of fancy with this. And there's a million different things that you can do with this. But let's just say we wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to do some sort of circle on the face and do like a rounded, it's just going to look goofy, but I'm just going to do it to show you what you guys can do with this, okay? So one of the things I can do is I can set where I want to draw. So right now, if I draw, I'm sort of constrained to this like lower level, right? So my boxes are all going to be down low. Does that make sense, right? Because that's where I'm. So I'm going to grab this set work plane, and I'm actually going to tell Revit that I want to draw on this face. And you can see I got a little blue box there that helps me see where I'm going to draw. And I'm not going to draw a circle, but I'm going to draw some sort of like, I'm going to draw some sort of clip. I'm going to take like some sort of clip out of the corner of this building. So I'm just going to kind of do something like this. Okay, and you guys can see I kind of drew that face on the front of the building. I drew that rectangle on the face of the building. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this some property again. So I'm going to say create form. I'm actually going to pull this back into the building, but I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to go part of the way. You can kind of see what I'm going to do, right? It's protruding in there. And then what I got to do is I'm going to tell Revit that I don't want this thing to be a form. I actually want this to be a cut. I'm going to highlight this. Over here under category, I'm going to change it from a solid to a void. Then Revit's going to say, wait, are you sure that's what you want to do? And I say, yeah. And so now what I was able to do is I was able to clip out and subtract that from my space, okay? And you can get fancy now. So I can grab this little edge and I can use my move command. I can actually start to tilt things. Based on what's locked and what's not locked, I can actually start to create some pretty neat looking geometry, okay? And there's very few programs, right? What can Revit not do? So again, I'm just going to take this and I'll move this down a little bit more. I didn't like quite how that looked, so I'm going to get that down like that. I'm going to pull this edge up. I want this edge to kind of mirror that same sort of. Now, mind you, I could get in here and do the. Oh, sorry, I grabbed a point, not a corner. So I'm going to grab this edge and I'm going to start rolling that word up. And I'm trying to make it parallel to that other roof line. Not perfect, and you could make it perfect if you really wanted it to. I'm going to grab that face. In fact, I don't think this is going to work the way I want it to, but I did. Okay, so all right, so let's say that's what I'm happy with. I'm happy with that mass. You guys can see that happened fairly quickly, right? You guys imagine trying to do that the way that we've been doing this MicroLiving cube and building it out by walls and floors and right? So this becomes a pretty impressive mass, right? Pretty quickly. Can you guys see a building, right? You guys can see where this is going to go to a building. So this is not a building at this point. This is simply just a mass, okay? And this is what I'm going to ask you guys to try, okay? And I want you guys to play around with it. But before you do, I'm going to even take it 2 more steps to show you where this would go from this. You're not expected to even complete this to this caliber. It's really just going to be you guys playing around with it and doing some subtractions if you can, doing some modification. So these points, when you guys saw me pull these points up, I'm going to go back in to edit this. When you guys saw me grab, like, say I wanted to grab that point right there. So that point is actually called a vertice. Okay, and this edge is called a vector. So I can quite simply grab a vertice, and you'll see I have the move command there, right? So I'm going to move that straight up, and you'll see Revit actually started to figure out all the geometry, and it knew that it would need to arc that to make that geometry work, right? So what I can say is try doing that in SketchUp, right? We love SketchUp. SketchUp's a really neat tool to use. Like that sort of geometry, that would be a nightmare. And I did it without even trying, right? So I have that as an option. Another thing, and I'm probably going to screw this up, but I'm going to try it anyways. I'm going to grab that whole top face, and I'm going to use the rotate command. And I'm just going to grab a point. I'm going to rotate this thing around almost all the way and show you what I could never do in another program. Okay, you can see that it literally took those faces and started to convert those. And I'm actually going to keep that. And I did that by simply rotating that top face, which I think is pretty darn cool. I'm actually going to undo that and see if I can't do that again. But this time, hold on a second. Let me see if I do that one more time. I want to do that a little more exact. I want to do it 180 or... yeah, let me do it 180 degrees. Self-intersecting geometry. Oh, I know why. Okay, all right. So, couldn't quite get it as much as I wanted it, but let me do this again. And I'm going to take it like 135 degrees. All right, so that's good enough. Actually, that's too much, isn't it? One more time. Last time. Grab that. And that's kind of the cool thing about Revit is it can go in the fields, right? This time I'm just going to do it 90 degrees. There we go. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to roll with that as my mass. I am not expecting you guys to do anything that complex. I want you guys to play around with that, but not until after I show you the next part, okay? I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my elevation. And you can see right now, I basically only have 2 elevations set. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here, and I'm going to make I'll make this first floor a little more grand. So maybe like a 20-foot first floor, okay? Make that a lot grander of an entrance. And then I'm going to come in here to my view. Actually, it's my architecture tab, rather. Grab my level tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dragging this up. And I'm going to put this one at 10 feet. Actually, I'm going to do 12 feet. That works. Drag that over. Grab another one. 12 feet. And that. Again, 12 feet. We're going to call that one final one. This one will have a big atrium feel to the inside of that. Does that make sense? So now what I've done is, again, guys, I'm not expecting you guys to go this far with this. I'm just showing you how powerful Revit can be. I'm now going to take my mass. I'm going to say, you know what? Why don't you mass me some floors off of all of these levels? Okay. And now what Revit just did was just slice that geometry up. If you can see those floors in there. Okay. Now, what I can do from this is I can look at my floor plans. Well, that's what floor plan number 1 would look like. That's what floor plan number 2 would look like. Look what's happening over here. Okay. This is what floor plan number 3 would look like. 4. And then ultimately 5. Okay. Now, it looks a little confusing, but it's going to make more sense in just one quick moment. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to say I want to create floors. Well, I want to create floors by face. Well, I want that to be a floor. I want that to be a floor. I want that to be a floor, that to be a floor, and lastly, that to be a floor. What kind of floor do I want it to be? Well, I want it to be this steel bar with concrete. I'm going to go ahead and say create floors. So Revit actually just turned all of those faces into floors. And then what I can do is I can come in here and I can say, all right, give me a roof. give me a roof by face. Okay, I want this to be a roof. I want this to be a roof. And I want that to be a roof. And lastly, I want that to be a roof. What kind of roof do I want it to be? I want it to be a steel truss with blah, 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 blahs. There we go. So now I'm starting to get my roof. Okay. Then I'm going to come into this and I'm going to say I want some walls by face. And I'm going to quite simply start clicking on that's a wall, that's a wall. I want that to be glass. I want that to be glass. I'm going to make this a wall. And ultimately, I want this to be a wall. Okay, so now I got my walls. Okay. And those are just going to be generic 8-inch walls. That's fine. Now I want to do storefront. And I want this to be a storefront. And I want this to be a storefront. And I want this to be a storefront. I knew it was going to let me do that. All right, because it's twisted. All right, let me see if I can do that as a see if I can do that as a curtain wall. Nope. Shoot. All right. So unfortunately, because of the curvature that gained, it's not going to let me make it that kind of wall. I'd have to make it a different type of wall. I'm not going to fool with it yet, but what I wanted to show you was that quickly I was able to take that mass model from literally a simple mass model into a fairly thought out space. Not bad for 10 minutes of building, right? So I'm going to come up to my level 5, which is my atrium floor, and I'm going to put a camera in here just for fun to kind of show you guys you can't really tell what's going on, but it's kind of a weird system. Okay, so in any case, what you can ultimately do once you're done that, you can actually hide this mass. So let me just hide this particular element. And so because I don't have actual walls there, it looks kind of funky, but you guys can see I've taken the, all of my walls are developed. I could start adding, if I go into my floor plans now, I could actually start adding windows and whatever other, and again, guys, I'm not trying to design a building here, right? Just showing you that I've created geometry that can be worked with at this point. Okay, so you're starting to be able to put penetrations, and you could go to the inside and do interior walls, and you could do, and you can do, and you can do. And I'm doing all of that from that really kind of fast mass model. And so my Revit, my SketchUp fan here, how much time does this take to do in SketchUp? A while, right? And if we just think like presenting a quick idea to a client, it doesn't have to be overdeveloped, right? That's the beauty part, right? Because Annie, you said, hey, that actually looks pretty good, right? So that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get the client to go, oh, that looks good. And then we're going to spend hundreds of hours in development, to be honest with you, right? I don't want to spend, here's the thing, Nick says it looks like trash. He hates it. It's an ugly concept, right? Thank you, Nick. Am I that offended? Did it cost the client that much money? Even though he hated it, the client typically still pays for this, right? Because this is part of the design development phase. The client typically pays for it. Nick, are you really that upset I gave you that as an idea for 10 minutes worth of billable time? Probably not, right? Because had you not seen, and once you see 10 of them, this may be the one that you hate the most. Unless you see that, you're not even sure that you hate it, right? Does that make sense? You can't hate something you don't see, or you can't dislike something you didn't see. So that's part of this, is being able to kind of have a lot of different concepts to share with your client. And if you can do it like this and kind of like snap through it pretty quick, it becomes a really easy way of presenting your ideas. So with all of that being said, I'm gonna let you guys just literally, and today's just play with massing. If you found that even the least bit interesting, play around with massing and see what you guys can come up with. No real expectations on what you get done. Just I'm holding you accountable for your time essentially, but play around with it. Yeah. Anybody got any questions at home, real quick, before I walk away for a quick second? Okay. I really wanted that to work. I guess they're telling me I can't bend glass. Apparently, I can make it anything but glass because I made it. Apparently, you can bend brick, but you cannot bend glass. So one of the things I button right of that robot is click on it. Click on it again. One more. Give it a second. After you got all your tools now. There's your move button up there. Give it a forward arrow. Okay, just click on that. And run up the stairs. Now, oh, you just grabbed the railing. So get over there. So let's try this. Click on the stair first. Oh, try the center. Now try it. You know what? Just use your arrow key and like tap it until you get it. There you go. Now use your arrows. It'll move. Just a little bit. Okay, so let me see your east elevation. So over in your property browser, down to your left. Oh, that's okay. You can do it. Get down here. Scroll down to east. Click on that one. Oh, sorry, the one. Before. Yeah, it was not working. Like, oh, my other, or my other friend was trying to do this. It was not working before. Well, this area doesn't look quite right. It doesn't look like it's going to the bottom floor and to the top floor. So over in your property palette, highlight your staircase and only your staircase. Just click on the stair. So base constraint, put it to entry level. Oh, I'm left-handed. I was just not no. Right below that, see where it says base constraint? So click on that. Click on that. Now change that to entry level. And then hit apply. Okay, hit cancel. So see where it says top level? Change that to upper level. Okay. Maybe it's like the size. I don't have the answer. Go to your entry level. Zoom in on that. Let's try to recreate that. That's really not the way it should be. You want to do a spiral staircase? Okay, so just do a linear staircase. Go there, try to straight out to your top. Just go straight up. Let's go see this. Yes. See how it's on the floor and it goes up to the floor? Okay, so that's the first step. Alright, go to your set it out. Go to your upper level. Actually, before you go to your upper level, highlight your floor, your upper floor. Yep, just highlight it with your mouse click on it. Oh. Yep. Now hit the button up top that says edit profile. Boundary maybe. go to floor plan up. Okay. So go to over on your left-hand side. Go to in your property browser, or your project browser. Down bottom. Scroll down. Look for your in that area. Look for your upper level. Okay. Now, in that corner. Now, all I want you to do. So what I want you to do, I want you to grab your pick lines button. Yep. Nope. To your left. There you go. Okay. And then select the top line of the staircase. Select your left line of the staircase. Okay. And then what I want you to do is I want you to drag that point. Actually, you know what? Select your bottom line. Select your right line. And in that little corner, grab your trim. That's next to the rotate up top. To the right of the rotate. Like that. Click on that vertical line and the bottom horizontal line. See how it cleaned up that corner? Then you go with that. And then mask in place, mask, and hit OK. And then just call it make. And then I'll just go back up and step through a couple more steps. You good now? I'll step through a couple more. I know I did that really quickly. Come over here and see if anybody's got any questions. Okay, so Grace says during constructions, how do they make bended buildings like that? So even though it's bent, it would be a whole bunch of like flat panels just on various angles that would make that sort of form. I really wanted it to work. Like, I really wanted that to work. That would have been really cool looking. But I failed. Okay, so a couple things. A few people were asking me the kind of I'm going to step back through how to mass again. So let me just step through this again. If you need me, pay attention. If you don't need me, then just keep working and ignore me in the background. So I'm going to hit the massing and site button, the massing and site tab, rather. These look like folder tabs at the top, so we call them tabs. The button that we're going to click is going to be the one that says In Place Mass. And quite simply, I'm just going to name this whatever. It doesn't matter. Boom. All right. So even though I can see this mass or see this building, I'm not working in the same book, essentially, right? Even though I could see it, I'm not working in the same book. So when you're massing, it's as simple as starting with various, we call these primitive shapes. These are just 2D shapes. So I could take a box and I could do this. And then with that box, I got to highlight it. Then I hit this button that says Create Form. And that's going to turn that into a 3D form from a primitive. Okay? So I take a 2D shape and turn it into a 3D form by using that select button. And then I can start doing whatever I want, right? So this is where I can start taking this thing. I can click on this corner. I could actually pull this corner way down, right? And you can see here it started to make that form what I was looking for. You can see it's got like a almost like a concaved arc built to it. What's another way I could do that? I don't know if I can rotate that the way I'm thinking. Can I rotate this? In AutoCAD, this is called a gizmo. If I highlight that, I could slope it. What I want to know is if I can rotate this from the corner. So bear with me. I'm going to see if I can rotate this. I know I got this rotate tool, but that's not what I want. You know what? Google. Let's Google it. Revit. Rotate. Gizmo. Click on the tool tab. Mass. You're welcome, kiddo. Have a great day. Oh. Oh, you're welcome. Have a great day. I'm going to look in to see if I can turn that into a rotate command because I feel like AutoCAD allows me to just like right click on it. Yeah, Kev. And then I can turn that into a rotate tool, but I it's eluding me right this moment, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. I just don't know how. I just don't know how to do it. My thought process is that I could rotate this. Yeah. My thought is that I could just rotate this, but I can't get it from. This is the wrong plane. I don't want to rotate it from there. See you, Nick. Let's see here. What if I work on this plane? Okay, if I work on that plane, highlight this shape, and then hit rotate. Nope. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, I'll play around with that. But in any case, you're able to take this thing, grab this line. You can grab like a line. You can pull this line down, tilt that edge of the building. You could grab then this corner, bring that down to a different height, and you can see that you're going to start creating kind of a neat looking building. Okay. Just by doing a few little modifications, right? You could bring this down a little bit more. I want that corner down. Right? So we're generating this new mass. And then we can go back out to we can go back out here, and I'm going to draw a new section of this, and I'm just going to kind of put another little box here. You can see here that there's a mistake, right? I drew it really high. And the reason why I drew it high is because my my work plane was set that high. So I've actually got to undo that. I'm going to reset my work plane to the bottom side of this box. And I'm just going to look at it, make sure I have it set on the right spot. Oh, I don't. So let me set my work plane again to the bottom. Okay, so I should have my work plane is the bottom now. Okay, so I'm going to draw another rectangle. I'm going to bring it up here, right here, and I'm going to go ahead and say create form, and I'm going to drag that one up, bring that into my building. I don't really like where this edge ended up. I'm going to try to select this face, drag it over, Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. So I'm going to join this one and this one to make those one. Okay. And then you can start doing other things, right? So let me just show you a subtract again, just to remind you guys how to do a subtraction. So let me set my work plane to the top of this building, to the top of that roof, and I'm going to go ahead and draw basically a floor. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a second. I'm going to create a form out of this. I'll pull that way up. Now, I'm going to actually highlight this form, and I want to move it. But I'm going to go to one of my elevations. I'm going to go to my east elevation, and I'm going to try to select this form. And I'm going to try to move this thing up. I'm going to try to move it over. You can, as like practice mass. It was really just kind of a get your brains off of your MicroLiving type of project for just a little bit. So I'm just going to put it there, and then I'm going to go to my north elevation, and you can see here I don't even have it into my building, so I'm going to bring it back into my building here. Yeah, I can do that. We just look at it from my south elevation. That looks good. That looks good. I'm going to look at it from the top. Whoops, I'm going to look at it from the top. And I can see that that's going to cut in. This is my big part of the building. So let me look at it in 3D again. What is that? That's not what I want. Okay, so yeah, see how it's kind of like it's in that building. So now what I'm going to do, it's going to sound a little weird, but I'm going to select this, and I'm actually going to change this from a solid to a void. And I actually cut out, I know it's hard to see, but I actually cut out that little area there where I could actually do like a rooftop deck, right? It would be up there, and I could put a piece of railing across here and along that little edge. I really wouldn't have wanted to clip into that edge, so I kind of pushed it over a little too far. You guys can start to see, you can start to see how you can create these quick, these two models will be two completely different types of buildings. But we don't know what the client wants, right? We have some ideas, and maybe they said they like this like sloped roof, so we did that sloped roof here. We did the sloped roof here. We did this bendy thing here. So with very little time, we're able to kind of pull out these conceptual masses. Let me just see if I can find a picture of something. Okay, so here's an image of somebody that's created a handful of, various mass models, right? And the idea is to get a concept down. And if you take what I'm showing you here, this is an architecture firm that generated this. Here's another thought of what, actually it looks like the same image. There's another thought of mass models, right? And if you scroll through, I just typed in mass models, conceptual model. Let's try conceptual mass model. And again, you could start to see various iterations of buildings, right? Boom, here's another one. This is kind of working through the process. And you can see this information out there. But in any case, um, the idea is to give multiple choices as you're starting to design. So quite simply by using mass modeling and putting together very primitive shapes and doing some pulls and extrudes, you can come up with these concepts. And the idea is that they don't have to be perfect at this phase. You're just really solidifying an idea. The client goes, yes, I really like that. We take that to the next phase. That's what this is intended to be for. And you can see I can take it from a concept. I could go back and redo the concept and add it a little more accurately dimensionally, which is what I would do. From a mass, I can start to actually create a Revit model, a real, true working Revit model. So that's today. I think you guys can take about 5 more minutes, play around with your mass models. Once you're done at 9 o'clock, if you want to hang out for a few more minutes, you're welcome to hang out. If you have any questions, if not, be free to go in, according to my clock, 5 minutes. No, Elijah, I really, today was just sort of exploratory practice, just to play around with it. Again, I want to always tie it back to, I always want to tie it back to real uses, because I think one of the practical application is what I'm saying. I think one of the things that education misses out on is you guys sit in math class and you guys learn these concepts and you listen to your teacher lecture about it. They put it up on the board. They do a couple examples. You do a couple examples. But you really never know where it's applied and how it's applied. I think that's true. Is that a true statement for most of you guys? You find that to be true? I'm just asking. Unless it's physics. Okay. I agree with that, right? Physics is very real world, which I like. So always try to tie things back to practical applications. See ya. Have a great day. And this is one of those things where I don't want you guys to get so I want you guys to be so blinded by Revit that it's the way that we've been using it thus far, and that's the only way that you can use it. This progressively gets more intense as you go down the line, right? So you can see you guys started with creating a floor and a wall type, which are very important skills, because if you think about that, you learned how to create a floor and a wall type. Well, what if this had a special kind of wall or a special kind of floor? You would have been able to create those and then apply those floors to this mass model. So those things will still, those principles will still work when you get to this phase. And so that's kind of the cool part, is that what you guys learned are real things. Here's another approach. We're starting with a mass model. We are starting to add on these various things, right? So if I take this roof and I say, you know what, I wanna can I do that or not? So I could actually start to add overhang just by kind of clicking and pulling, right? So I wouldn't do that obviously that far, but maybe I do have a little bit of an overhang. So from this model, you can start to kind of extract more from it and do more to it. So, these principles are real. These are actually real. Are you guys going to use it to a level that top 500 architecture firms going to use it to? No, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you are. Be completely transparent with you guys. Am I going to use Revit to capabilities that it has? And the answer to that again is simply just going to be no. It's not what I use, again, not what I use every day, but it's a great program, especially for doing stuff like this, right? If I said, hey, I'm going to do this in SketchUp, I'm looking at hours, not minutes. just even to get it to a conceptual level. And it just doesn't make any sense. So the right tool for the right job. Anybody do woodworking at home? Anybody bake? All right, Grace, what do you bake? Do you do like desserts or do you do like bread? All right. Do you use a fork to mix all of your cakes? Why not? Right? So the idea is that like the right tool for the job, right? So if I'm trying to create mass models, I'm not going to use AutoCAD. It's not going to make sense. I'm going to use a program like this that's going to be able to allow me to do this sort of rendering or this sort of massing and 3D modeling really, really, really quickly. So, you just got to use, I think about, you know, 100 years ago, like guys that did timbering, they sat out there with used to call them backbreakers. It's a saw that one guy would work each end of the saw, and you would pull, then he would pull, then you would pull, and he would pull, and you would pull. And now they don't do that. They take a long barred chainsaw and one chainsaw, one guy, and they can produce way more work than two guys could have without the amount of labor. So we use the right tool. This is the right tool to do this sort of job. So again, I just really wanted to kind of share with you guys that I didn't want you to get so blinded on, man, Revit's really tedious. You got to have all these settings. I did this in a very free form. I like the way this looks. I like the way this looks. Hey, what if I twisted this, right? And so that's where this program becomes really, really powerful. So other than that, guys, you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great one.
Have a good day, Mr. Walker.
Thanks, Dave. See you, buddy.
Mr. Walker, I think I missed the part about if we're turning this in or not.
You're not. This was just really for, this was just exploratory practice.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Arama, what are we turning in for Wednesday's assignment? So literally it's a progress post. Whatever you have done on your MicroLiving project, your portion of your cube, you're submitting whatever you have done. Wherever it's at, don't worry about it because it's just a progress post. Your progress is going to be different than other folks. Thank you. You too. And you're welcome. Elijah, Leanna, you guys still there? No worries, Elijah. Oh, no, it's totally cool. You having fun with it? Yeah, it's cool. I just think that part of Revit is just so cool. So have a great day. I will see you not tomorrow, but I'll see you Thursday. All right, see you, buddy. Man, are you there?
I am. I was just wondering what I should start next as I finish up my 3D model for the chipboard.
Oh, okay. So, which portions of the chipboard model did you finish already?
The 3D model or the?
You did the SketchUp, correct?
Yeah, I'm finishing that up. I'll finish that today, hopefully.
SketchUp and the 3D model. Let me pull up Canvas real quick. This takes me a second here. Bear with me. Be here Thursday? Said you'll be here Thursday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unless something changes for whatever reason, but I'll be there.
Alrighty. Let's see. Pull up the footer. What did you think of it? Did you play around with the massing model today?
Yeah, a bit. But I enjoy using the new program, but it's a bit tricky to understand, so I get lost and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I go back to the YouTube video. I'm like, oh, that's how you do it.
Oh, speaking of, I didn't stop recording yet. I'll cut you off at the end.